This is how I made $2,676 designing golf courses, and how I happened to stumble into indie game development along the way. For context, my name is Will, and I'm a full-time 3D artist and a pretty bad golfer. I got hooked on indie game dev by accident, and now I'm trying to transition away from freelancing 3D and VFX to doing games full-time. If you're interested in that, you can subscribe and ask questions. I'm happy to share all I've learned, and I hope some of you may try out some of my games and hopefully enjoy them. I'm 100% self-taught and self-funded, and I've learned by trial and error, some videos on YouTube, random forums, and just making things up as I go along the way. My background is in 3D, and I've used Houdini, Blender, and Unreal Engine for dozens of projects over the last decade for many clients. Now this is my first devlog type video on the channel, and also my first devlog I've ever done, so it might be a little informal, and I'm sure I'll get better as I make more. But to get started, I'll share some info about my goals with this channel, and hopefully what this channel will be. My dream goal would be to do this indie thing full time. I'll share my games here and my experiences as I go, and I'm happy to share any knowledge you might find helpful, or answer any questions with the limited experience that I'm slowly gaining. As for the technical stuff, I'm developing my games in Unreal Engine 5, currently with blueprints only, and I've released a single game on the Apple App Store, but have plans to release my games on Android as well once I learn a little bit more about game development. I'm also fully self-funded, so if you're a publisher watching this video and you want to give me $1 million to make my next game, I'd be happy to take you up on that offer. And you can reach me by email at games@waterlabs.com. Now, back to the video and how I got into designing golf courses. It was late 2023, and I just played a pretty bad round of golf at TPC Sawgrass, and I'd spent the last few months working on a 3D project for the PGA Tour. So suffice to say, I was going through quite a golf phase and slowly getting more into the sport itself. I had just purchased my first set of clubs. Of course, I went with blades, and that's probably why I shot at 118. But I just started going to the range once or twice a week, and as I kept playing, I also started learning about some of the more famous golf courses around the world, and I started trying to dive into the rabbit hole of golf course design, and why, in specific, some golf courses were famous and others were forgotten. I learned about some golf architects, the history behind some of the most iconic courses, and how different styles of architecture and courses can result in vastly different playstyles to the game of golf itself. But there was one idea that kept me interested more than anything else, and that really started this whole journey, and that was the idea of multiple pin positions. And more specifically, how on a well-designed golf hole, the pin positions can influence not only the putting, but also your approach shot, and even your tee shot in some particular cases. This opened up a lot of ideas and got me to start thinking about golf courses as a puzzle, where as a course designer, you can place certain course hazards to direct golfers in how they think and in how they play the hole. Let's try an example. We'll start from scratch and design our own hole right now and see some of this in practice. We'll do it in 2D from a top-down view, but with elevation changes, there's also a whole other dimension you can add to the hole's design. We'll design a par 4, and for that, we'd usually have that be between 300 and 500 yards. For traditional golf design, which we might break in later videos or in later courses, we would usually want the green to be reachable in 2 strokes. This term is called green in regulation, and is one of the stats that players can keep track of as they play each hole. Some short par 4s, for example maybe a 300-yard one, might be termed as drivable, or short enough in certain conditions where players can drive the green and hit it directly from the tee to the green. I might leave that in just because it's funny, and this video won't be perfect, but we're going to keep going. And now let's get started on our hole. We'll put the hole yardage at 380 yards and assume that a player can hit their driver 300, but not any farther. Now, if we have our hole at the top and the tee at the bottom here, we can fill in the rest of the area between with the green, the fairway, in the rough. Now, although there's technically infinite ways to play each hole, the golfer here is left with two main strategies for their tee shot. Option 1, they can hit a full shot with their driver and get it to roughly 70 to 80 yards left to go, and this remaining 70 yards might be a half swing with a wedge or sometimes a 3/4 swing, but this could be a difficult shot in some situations. Or option 2, instead of hitting a driver, they could hit a club that doesn't quite go as far, maybe a 4-iron, and leave it with 140 yards left to go, which might be a full swing with the wedge and usually is a little bit easier of a shot to hit for distance control. The important part is that now for their second shot, their approach shot, they now have either a short chip with a 70-yard shot or can potentially hit a full swing with the club that goes 140 yards and then play the hole that way. Now, the decision in the real world might depend on the golfer's comfort level, the wind conditions that day, or even just the types of shots that the golfer enjoys hitting, but ultimately the hole as it is now doesn't make you think that much about the shot, and most golfers wouldn't even be fazed. Now, to add more of a challenge to the hole, we can start to add some bunkers. We'll exaggerate the shape and the placement of bunkers with simple shapes for now, but in general, I believe that a golf course should look just as good as it plays. Some hazards can be decorative, and some can be very intentional in the ways they intimidate players or tease them into hitting certain risky shots. If we place a bunker directly in the middle of the fairway, that does a few things. It forces the golfer to now make a decision, mainly, and makes the golfer choose to hit left of the bunker, right of the bunker, or short of the bunker. In some situations, if the wind is strong enough and the wind is in their favor, they might also have the chance to clear the bunker. And now the decision to go left or right of the bunker is still kind of irrelevant because the hole is symmetrical, and whether the golfer is on the left side or the right side of the bunker, it really has no impact on the next shot or how the golfer would choose to play the hole. So we can make it more interesting by adding some more features to the hole that help direct the way the hole is played. We'll start by adding a green side bunker to the front left side of the green. This now blocks the left side of the green to make the shot from the fairway on the left side a little bit more difficult. The golfer now has two general options again. If the golfer plays option 1 and chooses to go to the right side of the fairway bunker, they have a clear shot to the green without having to hit it over any other hazards. If the golfer chooses to hit to the left side of the fairway bunker and goes with option 2, they'll have a bit more of a challenging shot with the front green bunker that they'll need to avoid. At this point, there wouldn't really be an advantage to playing to the left side of the fairway, but we can change that by adding in another pin position. We'll extend the green to the back, but add a different shape to give it a little more room to the back right side of the green. And we'll add another pin position to that back right corner and another green side bunker to shield the right side of that back green. Now, we can start to see that depending on the pin position, the golfer has a bit more of an intentional choice on which side of the fairway bunker to hit. If the pin is in the red option 1 in the back right, then playing to the left side of the fairway bunker would give the golfer a clear shot to the pin and a little more green to work with in case they hit it short or if the ball rolls out further. If the pin is in the blue position on the front tucked left placement, then playing the shot to the right side of the fairway bunker would probably be the safest option. They'd be able to skip the front green bunker and potentially could hit a nice little bump and run shot if they manage to get it close enough to the green. Now, in the real world, there's also a lot more factors that can play into how a golfer decides to take each shot. For example, if they're left-handed or right-handed, if they can play shapes like fades or draws, or if they're able to hit their wedges with strong enough backspin to have the ball roll back after landing. The humidity and weather can also influence the wind, the green speeds, how quickly a ball stops rolling, and how likely it is to spin back or to skip further. Elevation can also change with different shots at different heights, different green elevations, and different green slopes. Players might not want to putt downhill, but rather might prefer an uphill putt which might be a little bit easier in most situations. This infinite number of factors that a golfer must consider really got me hooked on the sport, and how such a simple idea of hitting a ball into a hole can be such an exciting challenge and a limitless playground for hitting fun shots. Each hole and each course becomes a puzzle that players must navigate their way through in order to chase or beat par. Now that I got hooked on the ideas of golf course design and how good golfers can approach and outsmart a hole with different shots, I wanted to try to give this course design thing a shot myself. My two options were: one, either spend a decade learning about golf course design and trying to get the money to either build my own course, or the skills to have someone hire me to help redesign a course in the real world. Or, since I have a background in 3D and programming, I thought the game engine route could be a good approach, so I went with that. But before I could design any golf courses and try to sell them, I knew I would need to have a way to decide if they were any good at all. And the only reasonable solution to that was to play them. So, in September 2023, I decided to try and develop a mobile golf simulator where you could play on custom golf courses right from your phone with a single finger. I got started and drafted out a quick sketch of how I thought I'd want to swing. The general idea was: step one, as a backswing, you'd pull your finger down slowly to charge up the swing and determine how much power you wanted to hit the ball with. Step two, you drag your finger left and right to open or close the club face, which lets you hit high draws, high fades, low draws, and really any shot you can think of. And then finally, step three is you swipe your finger up through the ball and hit it. The idea was pretty simple, but the steps to create it from scratch without any previous experience was pretty difficult and took me about 2 years. After months and months and months of learning Unreal Engine, iOS development setups, game design, UI design, and 3D game asset optimization, I finally had a finished game, and on April 2024, the game was released on the Apple App Store. The technical development and game design decisions that I made along the way need their own video, so subscribe and let me know in the comments if you're interested in learning about that. In total, the timeline since I began is as follows. September 2023, I officially decided this is something I wanted to do. I decided I want to use Unreal Engine, and I wanted to design and create my dream golf game. In April 2024, I finished initial development and released the game on the iOS Apple App Store as a free download. In July 2024, I had designed 4 courses with 36 holes each, and I released 2 courses for free and also 2 paid courses, those who wanted more golf and also to help support the game. As of last week, I have sold 786 copies of my golf courses and am left with $2,676 after Apple's cut. Recently, in the last few months, I can now say that I'm comfortable enough with Unreal Engine to where instead of fighting the engine and trying to learn how to do things, I'm now spending my time planning and implementing the mechanics and gameplay that originally I only dreamed of playing. To recap, I'm officially hooked on game development, and I'm going to try to give it my best shot to do this indie thing full time. I'm well into the development of a sequel game, and have lots more I'm planning on sharing on this channel. So if you want to follow along, then please do subscribe, and if you want to try to play the game or support the development, you can find it on the Apple App Store. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.